fight fans. Welcome on into another episode of the Undercard. I'm your host, Jeff Patello, and today we are going to be covering UFC 247. Originally, I had scored this card to be a 3 out of 5 after watching the main card, and that's all I'm going on is the main card. I don't, when I things, I don't include the prelims or anything like that. We're just strictly rating the main card right now, and unfortunately it's still going to remain a 3 out of 5 for me. Like I had said, my big trouble with this main card for me was the third fight in. It had really no business being there. I realized that Juan Adams is a hometown favorite. It was his hometown party, but there is nothing that would indicate that Juan Adams is ready to be on the main card in the UFC. He really, his physique is not the best, though his opponent was Tofa, and not that his physique was much better, but generally you would like to see some sort of like improvements, sort of conditioning, you know what I mean? Something of the effects that would make you think, oh, he's starting to take this serious. Instead, I would say that Adams kind of looked a little bit even more squishier than usual. And yeah, it just, it ended up with a quick KO of Adams. In my opinion, the referee might have stepped in a little bit too soon, but either way, I had figured that this was going to end in a knockout. The one fight on the main card that really surprised me was Ige versus Baltic. What a goddamn war that was. That was a very, very close fight. I had it Ige 2-1. Masad definitely won the second round, but once Dan started to find his range and was unable to get taken down again, it put Masad in a bad spot. That for me was fight of the night. These guys came out throwing bombs. The other fight here that I didn't like on the main card, that I was kind of expecting good things, was Derek Lewis versus Ilray Latif, and I just think Latif is maybe a little bit out of his element here. He's a little bit too small. Possibly needs to go back down to light heavyweight. He's just fighting some big boys here. Lewis looked great. I can't believe for such a big man the athleticism that he's got, with those jumping high kicks that he was throwing to Latif's head was absolutely phenomenal. Kind of like surprised me, and it scares me that a big man like that can move as fast as he can, right? You would really wonder if Lewis decided to do some like conditioning, exactly the shape we could see him actually reach, Scary man, he's got some big old hands, was unable to secure the knockout even though he was trying, but Latif mainly was just trying to get him to the ground and hold him there. I could see as to like why this decision went to Lewis, because nobody wants to really see a wrestler come in and just hold a guy on the ground and really do nothing. In fact, I think the referee stood him up twice, right? So this ended up being a lot boringer fight than I had imagined. John Jones fight was amazing. The Valentina Shevchenko fight was absolutely amazing and kind of what I expected. Before we touch on some of those, let's go all the way back to the beginning of the early prelims here. This was actually not too bad. There was some pretty good scraps on the prelims. There was a couple of quick KOs. Of note, there was absolutely no submissions going on tonight. It was either KOs or, going the distance. We did have two fairly quick KOs. Jaron Nelson ended up KO Domingo Piret. Oh Jesus, I would just butcher these goddamn names in relatively quick fashion. I mean, like 38 seconds. Newson got the KO over Domingo. Domingo was the hometown and heavily favored in this fight. But these things happen, you know. He was the taller man, but Nelson was able to kind of slip one of his straight shots and just come in over the top and just hit him clean on the jaw and just crumbled. It was pretty devastating fashion. The other one that went pretty quick on the prelim cards was another unfortunately, the Texas boys are the Houston boys just were not doing too well in this card. It was Alex Morano versus Kalani Williams. Williams ended up destroying Morano. Another overhand shot dropped him. 27 seconds. You know, we had two fights that didn't even reach a minute if you were to count them both. Other than that, the rest of the fights were pretty entertaining. The night got off to an absolute bang. We saw Yusuf Zalal versus Austin Lango. This was a 3-round fight. It went the distance. Both these gentlemen would love to see them back again. Lingo has shown that he has got some good striking ability. He's got a great ground game, but he needs a little bit more seasoning and experience. When he was in there with an exceptional striker such as Yusuf, it presented a lot of problems. Yusuf, oddly enough, has cornered Lango in one of his previous fights before, so Yusuf kind of had the upper hand in this. Also, Yusuf has the pleasures of training with Baharari. Baharari, for you that don't know, is a kickboxing legend. The man is a beast, and you know, it shows that Salah has learned a lot from him, and he was in great shape. Excellent strikes. Anytime he was taken to the ground, he was able to pop up. He was never in no real danger. He fought a very intelligent game, was moving around lots. He even was shooting in for takedowns just to keep Lingo on the defense, right? And always backpedaling, even though Yusuf was probably not going to do nothing with those takedowns. But all in all, would love to see both these fighters come at it again, and I would have much rather seen this fight on the main card other than that Adams Tofa fight, to be honest with you. Another good fight, but this is where we started to scratch our heads a little bit with the judges. Andre Ewing versus Jonathan Martinez. Hell of a fight. Didn't know much about either of these two. Ewing is a very long, lanky fighter. I think in the second round, though, he went to go and block a kick from Martinez, and unfortunately, he didn't get it like a second hand out there. Usually, you're taught that when you go and block kicks, you want, you know what I mean, two hands to brace the impact. I think he only managed to get one hand. I mean, one is definitely better than no hands. But I think he ended up hitting him on the wrist and ended up breaking his wrist, possibly, because in the third round, Ewing was unable to really even like clinch a fist. His hands was down beside him the whole time, kind of like on his hip. He was not engaging with it. He would throw it the odd time just to keep Martinez kind of like guessing. But Martinez has got some great hands. I'm a little bit disappointed with the overall outcome of this fight, to be honest with you. I had this fight going 29-28 for Martinez, but the judges saw it two of the judges saw it go 28-29 or 29-28 for Ewing. One of the judges had it going 30-27, which I was absolutely baffled with. I don't understand how they got to that. In my opinion, Martinez was the one that was able to land most of the strikes. Martinez definitely won the first round and the second round, in my opinion. Well, maybe not so much the second round. Definitely the first and the third round. Eway definitely won the second round. But I guess some saw that Eway was able to keep Martinez kind of on the defense, was throwing a lot of shots that weren't really doing anything. They were just meant to kind of keep him off guard. However, Martinez, for whatever reason, was unable to capitalize. And I could see as to like why the other judges ended up going with Eway. However, that one judge that went 30-27, that dude was out to lunch, right? Martinez definitely won at least one round. That being said, for early prelims, it was really, really good. Like, if I were to rate the early prelims, and we're just talking about the 3 fights out of a 5, I would definitely say this was like 4.5. You know, we even got a quick knockout, and 2 solid fights. Next, we're gonna jump on into the prelim card. Prelim card had some exceptional fights. Whoa, we also saw another KO, not in a quick fashion here. This one went a little bit longer. This one actually made the second round. We did, however, get to see an undefeated fighter get a loss. Miles Jones, another, I believe he was another Houston native. It was a bad night for Houston, folks. Miles Jones was 10-0 coming into this fight, but ended up getting knocked out by Mario Batista. Like I says, I really don't follow much of the ESPN fights and stuff like that. I mainly just watch the main cards, so I'm starting to learn a lot more of these fighters. But Mario Batista looked pretty solid, showed a good striking prowess, and was able to put Jones away with some good shots. Not much more that I can really say about this one. Looking forward to seeing Batista again. I would need to see Jones in another competition. Or Jones, I should say. Jones, my bad. Just to kind of see exactly what his skill set is. But all in all, this was an okay fight. Next one we had already touched on, Alex Morano versus Williams. Another Houston boy came out, got knocked out, got flattened pretty quick. This was pretty much a gimme fight to Williams here. This next fight, though, that we're going to talk about, this was another one that they should have thrown on the main card. It was a hell of a fight. It was the women's flyweight division. It was Lauren Murphy versus Andrea Lee. Both these women are very similar in records. They both have a good striking game. Lee is really known for her strikes. Murphy is another brawler, right? She'll get in there and she will swap paint with you folks. Very tough woman. Great win for Murphy. I had this one going to Murphy as well. This was a 29-28 fight for me. Lee won maybe the second one, but arguments could say that Murphy won all 3 rounds. I think Lee, for whatever reason, kind of didn't use her legs too well in this fight. For somebody that's got a background like she does, I believe it's either Taekwondo or Thai boxing, she just was not, getting enough separation from Murphy and using her legs at all, right? This turned out to be just a war of the fists here, and Murphy got the better of her. She was able to work on the inside, so you really couldn't tell after the fight, though, who had won, because if you had seen Murphy's face, it was just all blown up. But it just goes to tell you they were in one hell of a war. This was a amazing scrap by the flyweights, and the women's division is looking good and is very strong. This next fight, Trevor Gillis versus James Krause, almost got canceled. James Krause was not even supposed to be in this fight. However, on 24 hours short notice, he was asked to fill in. And I forget who he was supposed to be cornering, but I think might have been Longo. I could be wrong. But anyhow, he stepped in and, he was fighting in a heavier weight class than what he normally fights in. And, for not having really any practice, I think he got like a 6-hour practice in. And he's always usually in shape. Krause is always in good shape, right? So it's not like he just came out there and they like just threw something together. Trevor Gillis definitely had to work for this victory. Like I says, it was short notice. Gillis was expecting, a war, and I think that's what it really came down to, was the preparedness for any fight, really. Even though you're training and you're in good condition, like there's something extra spicy you're gonna put on when you go to fight on just a main card, you know what I mean, or just an actual event. Like, knowing, right, 24 hours notice is not enough time to get you in the right space, the right you don't even get enough tape on your opponent, right? So it's just kind of like a crapshoot, but all the praise goes to Krause, for stepping in and doing it. The man is a journeyman. He's been in this game for a long, long time. And, I don't know if we'll see Krause back, but, I am mad if we do, right? As for Gillis, he showed us that he's got some great striking ability. He was able to press Krause the whole time. Not so much of a great ground game. Krause definitely showed that he is definitely the better of the two when it comes to the ground. And this wasn't a blowout by any means. This was I had this fight going 29-28, and Gillis was just able to squeak out the victory. So if I'm going to rate the prelim card, though, well, we did have one that was canceled. We had an okay fight with Batista knocking out Johns. Williams KOing Morano just like that. Was okay. Lauren Murphy and Andrea Lee was phenomenal top level fight here, and the Gillis one was an interesting one too, right? So if I were to rate this out of a 5 from the 4 fights, I would probably say that this was a 3.5 star. As much as we like quick KOs, not that quick. Now, as for this main card here, as I had said earlier in the show here, I did not rate this any more higher than I originally did when I did my fight prediction. I did have Derek Lewis winning this fight. I'm not sure exactly who I had for Masad and Ige winning this fight. I think I went and leaned on Ige. Tofa, I had him winning this over Adams. Adams just has never really showed me anything that I had thought that he would be a good fighter or not. I did have Valentina Shevchenko winning this fight. I think I had said second round KO, but she got a KO in the third. And I had John Jones winning this fight as well. But yeah, to open up this card, we had Derek Lewis versus Latif. The Black Beast, what can I say? I think, watching this fight, I had Latif winning this one. It was a 28-20, or it was a 29-28 for me. Latif was scoring the takedowns. But I could kind of see as to why the judges ended up going and giving this fight to Lewis. I think this is more of a politics here, to be honest with you. This was more of a politics victory than Latif. Lewis has got a very fan-friendly style of fighting. He is looking to put people to sleep. And that's not to take anything away from Latif. Latif is an amazing wrestler. He's just, however, not so fan friendly. And I think he's just out of his element, being in the heavyweight division. Small guy gives up too much length. You know what I mean? And as much as some people are going to say, well, Daniel Cormier can do it. Not everyone's Daniel Cormier. Daniel Cormier's got some great boxing skill and, world class wrestling, so, it's just very hard to have, somebody that's got that same skill set, or else he'd be at the top of the food chain, and Latif is not, I think with his size is just so massive that he almost needs to start reducing some muscle. I don't even know if he's 6 feet. He might just be shy of 6 feet. Might have been like 5'11" or something. But in my opinion, he needs to be fighting in the 180-pound division, right? It's just he's just handicapping himself, and I don't think he's going to be able to do. Even if he gets a guy to the ground, and like we saw him get Lewis to the ground twice, twice where he was able to work. Well, he really didn't end up working, like they got stood up both those times, right? And I think because he was unable to do anything with Lewis on the ground, that maybe that's why the judges also swung it his way. I still think it's politics. But yeah, that went to the decision, and Lewis won. Next on the fight was Ige versus Masad. This was the absolute fight of the night. These boys came out and they were trading paint in the first round. They were trading paint in the fucking second round, and boy were they trading paint in the third round. But Ige was the quicker of the two, was able to get off first. Masad was starting to get a little bit frustrated, trying to get that takedown, was able to take Ige down in the second. Wasn't able to do much with it. However, I would love to see these two run it back. I mean, what an amazing fight. We should see Ige get a actual ranking by the end of possibly Monday here. We'll see once the rankings get reshuffled and see where everybody lies. Great fight, though. The pace that these guys put on was just phenomenal. This is why the featherweight division is one of the better divisions in both for males and females, right? The flyweights just really can put that pace on, and they just make things super exciting. You know what was not so exciting? This next fight we're gonna get into, Juan Adams and Tofa. Like I feel like I'm just beating a dead horse here. Adams, I have no idea what they're gonna do with this guy. They really need to possibly put this guy on the early prelims and see what they can do with him. He really needs to work on his conditioning. He looks awful as a heavyweight. Might need to move down to light heavyweight. Really needs to practice his striking. If you're gonna be a big boy and you're gonna sit there and strike with people, you better make sure your shit is top of the food chain. And it's very susceptible. Like this is yet again another early finish of Adams. He was able to last a little bit longer. I think in that Greg Hardy fight, it was another 30-second loss. Something along those lines, and it just didn't look good. In all of his losses, Adams has not looked good. I forget who Tofa had his last loss to, but he looked good in that last loss. He didn't look like he was outclassed, didn't look like he didn't belong, right? Justin Tofa is a guy that I'm very big on. He's a young up and comer. This is only his 5th fight. I think he's only been doing this for about 2 years, so we're going to see some more improvements from him. Another heavyweight that could use some conditioning, but man's got some power, and very exciting fighter, and really looking forward to seeing Tofa's next fight. Now for the co-main event, women's flyweight, Valentina Shevchenko versus Katlyn Chookagian, or Chookagian, whatever. There was a few things that I had suspected going into this fight. Katlyn Chookagian has always been, how do I say this, so that it's not so well, I'm just gonna say it like this. When you see someone that is that tall and that is that skinny, you know what I mean, they have skated by on their career from fighting behind their leg, and this is probably why Chookagian is fighting at the 125 division. If you saw the advantage and the height advantage over Shevchenko, you would notice a few things right off the bat. One, Chookagian is just all fucking, just all length, right? Skinny little arms, skinny little legs. When you see her standing next to Shevchenko, you look at Shevchenko's legs and you're just like, wow, look at the quads on her, like she has got some big solid legs, you know what I mean? Like that's a woman that packs some power. Even in her arms, you can see the muscle definition. She looks jacked, just jacked compared to Chookagian. And therein lies the problem though, right? Like it's good that Katlyn is good. She's got a great record, but she doesn't finish fights. She may have finished fights back in the day, but like now that you're in the UFC organization, this is the cream of the crop. And when it comes to all the women fighting in different organizations and everything, all the best women are in the UFC, 100%. That's why Cyborg couldn't make her mark here in this league, and she's no longer in this league. She left, right? She went to go and become the new queen over at Bellator. Which, I am mad at her. They're paying her lots of money, and she kind of had a falling out and all that bad blood. But anyways, that's besides the point. What we're getting to is that, it's the cream of the crop, and your weaknesses are going to be exposed once you're inside that octagon, right? And Chookagian showed that she's only really a point fighter. At no time was she able to really threaten Shevchenko. Shevchenko just showed how dominant she is. Being a lanky fighter, she should have been able to fight behind a jab, was unable to do so, wasn't able to do anything with her kicks. Shevchenko just kept pressing forward, right? And I think it really fucked with Katlyn, right? Katlyn just was unable to get off first. Valentina was able to score a takedown late in that first round and was able to open her up with a nasty elbow. I don't know if that had slowed down Katlyn. I don't think it really did, as for, elbows and cuts go, she did have a little mouser over her eye. But, it was pretty contained. It wasn't the bloodiest thing that we ever saw. But she just had no answer for her. None whatsoever, But not many people do against Shevchenko. Shevchenko is, like I had mentioned before, she is cream of the crop, has got all the talent in the world, and she is just someone you really can't be messing with. She is, like I said, top of the food chain, and really she's cleaned out a division. Hopefully, and I mean hopefully, I guess we're going to see her battle Amanda Nunes again, right? It'll be for a third time, and, hopefully this time Shevchenko can get her done. But yeah, as for that, 125 division is cleaned out. They're going to have to possibly take, some time to try and bring somebody up, and that could take a year or two. But we'll see exactly what Shevchenko's got next in her plate. All right, last but not least, John Jones versus Dominic Reyes. Huh. You know, I honestly had this one going to Reyes. I had Reyes up 3-2. I thought Reyes definitely won the first 3 rounds, but I think this is another one of those things where you just kind of wondering like what the judges were looking for tonight, how they were scoring a few things. I'm thinking maybe Jones won the 3rd round because he had that takedown, but in my eyes, Reyes popped right back up after that takedown and still finished out that round, and for like most of the takedown attempts, John was unable to really do anything. Reyes popped back up and showed that he was not going to be held on the ground, right? Even at one time, Jones had the double underhooks and like in deep, and I don't know how Reyes did it. It just goes to show you that Reyes is a strong individual, was just able to like walk it up, right? And just was able to get free from that. And usually that's like 100% takedown right there. When Jones has got his hands wrapped around you like that, it's just one pull off the cage and your ass is on the ground. But Reyes, I must admit I haven't watched too many of his fights, but that's a bad man right there. We're gonna see him back. We're gonna see these guys fight each other again. We just have to. I mean, after a performance like that, it's Thiago we're gonna see again, and Reyes fights. We need to see, or maybe we need to see Thiago versus Reyes first. The winner of that gets another shot at John. Right? Maybe that's what we need to see. I think that would be very, very interesting. As for John Jones, what can we say? Like he, I think he squeaked this one out, right? I think he got lucky that the referees were scoring it as they did, and they must have seen that the takedowns were really scoring well. I can understand why Reyes was a little bit dejected after the fight, but that's the way it goes. It seemed like he had gassed out as well. He didn't was unable to really come out and do much in the 4th and 5th rounds. He looked really bad in the 5th round. Jones, however, just looked like he was in great shape. But this is Jones's 15th five rounder, and this was Reyes's first. I know he had one against Weidman there, but that only went 3 rounds anyways, right? So he's never really been in deep waters. Reyes did a lot of smart things in this fight. He never really fought flat-footed, was always moving, was always keeping Johns going. He had a great game plan. He kind of like went at him. However, I think he should have maybe held back a little bit on the gas tank, make Jones kind of like chase him a little bit more. But, learning lessons. He's still a young guy. That's only his 13th fight. Like I had said, I thought this was a little bit too soon to be fighting somebody like this. But at the same time, too, it's not like he got bounced around in that ring. He held his own. And, in my eyes and a few other people's eyes, he probably won this fight. But that's what happens when you leave it to the judges. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for chilling out and listening to me rant and rave about this UFC event. Please leave a comment below if you'd like to support the channel. As always, smash that like button. Make sure to hit that subscribe button and stay up to date with what I got going on. Also, if you'd like to join, feel free to join the Discord, and always open to have discussions up there. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for your love and support. Peace.